Staying by a fallen officer's side, Fort Myers police escort Adam Jobbers Miller's body to the funeral home in an emotional procession.
A young woman from Fort Myers vanishes while thousands of miles away overseas. What she was doing in Israel.
A woman comes home and thinks she's robbed, but it's no burglar. How she thinks a bear got inside and made this huge mess.
Live from Southwest Florida's news leader, this is Wink News at 6:30.
We'll get to those stories in just a minute, but first, it's been a rainy Sunday. Let's get right to Wink News meteorologist Brooke Silvering for the latest. Brooke?
All right, well, thank you, Brittany. And yes, we've been dealing with the rain. We started to see some rain off the shore early this morning in Collier County, and then some thunderstorms building in along the inland communities. Now dealing with a few isolated areas of rainfall across Southwest Florida, so not much in the way of mass coverage. But for the area, still seeing some rain. It is slowly drifting its way northward, so Venice looking dry for Rotunda. Even Port Charlotte starting to dry out, looking good over in Punta Gorda. Taking a trip down south, we do have some rain still along Summerlin Road. Notice the red there, so we are seeing rainfall rates at 2 inches per hour, so getting dumped on there. This will continue to drift its way slowly northward, so into the Caloosahatchee and possibly even into southern Cape Coral if it does hold together. Another area of some moderate to lighter rain. Notice no lightning strikes associated with this, but we do have that over Golden Gate stretching all the way into Naples, so we will continue to watch this as it drifts this way northward. Still the chance for a few more isolated showers and storms can roll through as we go into your evening hours. But temperatures, at least we're on the rain-cooled side. Notice 83 degrees in Fort Myers, 83 in Lehigh Acres, lower 80s in Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, and 75 degrees over there in Arcadia. So the rain really does drop the temperatures, and it does feel pretty nice out there without, again, those hot temperatures that we normally have for this time of the day. So as we go into your evening, still looking at the 80s there, sunset 8:17 p.m. And I'll have another look on what to expect for tonight and tomorrow coming up in the forecast.
In less than 24 hours after his tragic death, a Fort Myers police officer shot in the line of duty is now at a funeral home. This is a huge procession of police cars, fire trucks, and much, much more, escorting Officer Adam Jobbers Miller's body to the funeral home. We News told you last night that Jobbers Miller passed away at Lee Memorial Hospital. The 29-year-old was shot exactly 1 week before in Fort Myers. We News reporter Morgan Reiner is outside the funeral home. Now, Morgan, you talked to people moved by this large procession of law enforcement, correct?
Yes, the people that I spoke with today say they've never seen anything quite like it, both in terms of how big it was and how long it took for it all to be put together. They say it happened in just 24 hours, as you mentioned. Around 2 p.m., his body was taken here to the funeral home, and since then, we have seen a lot of helping hands. One woman showed up with a trunk full of beverages and snacks, and police officers helped carry everything inside of the building. Those who witnessed the funeral procession say it felt dignifying, but that shootings like these are becoming too common.
And I've never seen anything like that. Even during a memorial or funeral for a police officer. I do think that South Florida has a serious problem with crime, and I think it's getting out of control.
Ward said she is happy Jobbers Miller is on his way to his final resting place. He was shot 8 days ago near a gas station on MLK Boulevard while on duty. Fort Myers police say he died at Lee Memorial Hospital yesterday afternoon. Jobbers Miller's body is inside of the funeral home right behind me. Trust Wink News to keep you informed as you learn of any future developments. Live in Fort Myers, Morgan Reiner, Wink News Now.
And breaking right now, Fort Myers teen vanishes in Israel while studying abroad. Tanaya Jones's family confirms the 19-year-old disappeared overnight in Tel Aviv. She went for a midnight swim with 2 roommates when a strong current pulled them out to sea. The other 2 friends were able to swim back to shore, but Jones remains missing tonight. She is a Dunbar graduate and attends the University of Kentucky. Her family is making arrangements to travel to Tel Aviv this week.
I noticed a funky smell, but I didn't think anything of it. I got scared. I thought there had been an intruder.
Well, something got inside all right, but it wasn't human. A woman in North Naples says a bear made this huge mess in her home. As Wink News reporter Chris Grisby explained, she picked up the phone right away and called 911 for help.
I noticed a funky smell, but I didn't think anything of it. I opened the door. My kids opened the door, and I see this huge mess. My refrigerator doors were open. Everything was pulled to the ground. My dishwasher open. Cabinets open.
Nicole Iannico and her daughters came home to quite the disturbance Friday night.
My window that I always have shut was drawn all the way open. My lanai was totally trashed.
This Naples mother thought someone was creeping inside her home.
I got scared. I thought there had been an intruder. I said, get out, tell the kids to get out of the house.
After a thorough search, Collier deputies found remnants of their suspect.
They found some bear hair attached to the window, some bear hair on the window, and then they found paw prints in the ice cream.
A bear broke through this screen and somehow opened up this window for an adventure.
Everything was on the floor, the glass was broken. Our intruder had not only spent time in the kitchen, he just made his way through the home.
But before the bear made its move inside, Shade and Ienico says she spotted one lurking around just a few days prior.
I looked up and then I looked out and the bear was standing right there and I just started like, it's a bear, it's a bear, it's a bear, it's a bear.
Now, if the bear comes back, the Ienicos say they're making sure their home is bear-proof.
Never in my right mind would ever assume that living here, a bear would break into my home. So now I'm just gonna be more cautious and more aware.
Reporting in North Naples, Chris Grisby, Wink News Now.
That is terrifying. FWC says you should secure your trash and other scents that bears are attracted to. If you spot a bear in your neighborhood, give them a call.
And more dead fish are littering our beaches. And take a look at these photos of a viewer sent us off the Sanibel Causeway. Dead fish along the shore, and so many more are piling up. And that's not the only spot where we saw something like this. Take a look at this pile of fish right behind a man's house. He is at the Hurricane Bay community off of St. Carlos Boulevard. He says the docks are loaded with dead fish sticking to the mangroves. And new this hour, 2 people have minor injuries after crashing their car right into a building. It happened right around 3:30 this afternoon at Evans Avenue and Willard Street in Fort Myers. No one was inside the building when the car came crashing in, but 2 lanes of Evans had to be shut down while police investigated.
Breaking now, after 26 years on the run, U.S. Marshals nab a suspected child abuser in Mexico, living a double life. The Lee County Sheriff's Office issued a warrant for Earl Slayton back in 1990. He was wanted for sexual battery against a 14-year-old girl. There's been no trace of him anywhere in the United States ever since. Investigators got a tip that he was living with his new wife about 400 miles west of Mexico City. Detectives learned he'd been there almost the entire time. Now he's in the Lee County Jail with no bond. Few answers tonight about a mysterious death investigation in a rural neighborhood. Marion County deputies say a man was found lifeless in a home at the end of a long dirt driveway in Summerfield. Someone called the sheriff's office saying there was a shooting there. Deputies are not saying much about what happened or who is responsible.
And breaking in the last hour, a 6th person has died in a massive wildfire that's forced more than 35,000 people from their homes. Some 12,000 firefighters are working 24-hour shifts in a desperate effort to get the car fire under control in Northern California. The latest victim was unidentified, but investigators say that person ignored orders to evacuate. Wink News reporter Carter Evans has the latest from Redding.
Firefighters are struggling to contain the massive car wildfire in Northern California. The deadly blaze has scorched more than 500 buildings in less than a week. Thousands more are threatened, and the fire is still growing, just not as quickly as before.
We're feeling a lot more optimistic today as we are starting to gain some ground. Rather than being in the defensive mode on this fire all the time, we're starting to make some good progress out there.
The one thing that has helped out just a little bit in the last couple of days, I mean, you might be able to see some of this haze behind me. That is filtering the sunlight as well, which has kept the temperatures down a little bit.
The fire broke out on Monday, but exploded on Thursday. Ed Bledsoe left his home while the fire was still miles away. Then he got a frantic call from his 5-year-old great-grandson.
He's saying, "Grandpa, please, you got to come and help us. The fire's at the back door." I said, "I'm right by you, honey. Just hold on. Grandpa's coming."
Bledsoe tried to rush home, but the roads were blocked. He was unable to reach his wife and 2 great-grandchildren before they died.
Did you get any sort of evacuation warning?
Nobody told us nothing. If I'd had any kind of warning, I'd have never, ever left my family in that house.
Crews near Redding are still dealing with dry conditions and gusty winds. Fire officials say it's still too dangerous for most evacuated residents to return home. Carter Evans, CBS News, Redding, California.
And dozens of people trying to escape wildfires in Greece had no choice but to head into the water. You can see people covering their mouths, trying to not breathe in the smoke. Fires swept through a Greek resort town, trapping people in cars and on the edge of cliffs. At least 74 people have died, and that number is expected to rise.
Wink News is Campaign Central, and time is running out if you want to vote in the upcoming primary election. Tomorrow is the last day you can register to vote. Florida is a closed primary state. That means you can vote only if you register with the two main parties. The Florida primary is on August 28th.
Slow down, slow down. That is giant. Look at that.
A group of boaters now have bragging rights, experiencing something that few people ever see. A giant whale shark was spotted about 3 to 5 miles offshore of Pensacola Beach. Panhandle Charters and Guide Services was on a charter with a group of people from Missouri when they spotted the shark. The water in this area is about 50 to 60 feet deep. Captain Kenny captured video of the moment and shared it to the company page saying, "We need a bigger boat."
You always have to keep your eyes open.
Yes.
Well, still ahead, helping kids return back to the classroom, how kids got everything they needed in just one stop.
A guy brings a gator into a convenience store. This video of a bizarre beer run goes viral. Why it's making people so upset.
And scatter storms are back in the forecast for the start of the new work week. Find out what else to expect here for Southwest Florida coming up.
And back to school now with Wink. Hundreds of families lined up as early as 7 a.m. for the 19th annual Big Backpack event hosted by the Multicultural Center. Kids flocked to the North Fort Myers High School gym to get their hands on free book bags filled with supplies. They got free haircuts and eye exams too. Families tell Wink News this event really offers a peace of mind.
It's a great event because for people like me that work and live paycheck to paycheck, is obviously a great help, to have school supplies since it racks up, pretty good amount, especially if you got a lot of kids like that, like I do.
Organizers say they provided supplies to about 2,000 children today.
It's amazing event to see. Meteorologist Brooke Silverang joining us now, and it has been really rainy out there even earlier in the day, which we don't always see this time of year.
Exactly. Well, we did have a different little shift in the pattern with that southwest wind kicking in and with a southeast wind as well. But tomorrow we are going to see very similar conditions. But you know what, guys? We're going to be back into our normal summer-like conditions later this week. So that means rain late in the day, so you can have the morning and the early afternoon on the drier end to do.
A father is outraged after he says his 4-year-old was left alone inside a hot daycare bus. It happened in northeastern Oklahoma. He says his daughter Sierra was left in the Salvation Army daycare bus for about 2 hours. He thinks she was sleeping under one of the seats and nobody noticed. The father says carelessness like this could have easily turned into tragedy.
Whenever they found her, she was sitting there screaming, bawling, just beat red, freaked out. Whenever they got back, nobody done a head count. Nobody cared to see that she got off the bus.
Sutton says he plans to file a police report so the daycare is investigated.
A minute, but that didn't keep the Atlanta Braves legend from his Hall of Fame induction. He actually says it inspired him to name his son after the location of the ceremony, and he said it would be pretty cool if he was born during the ceremony weekend, as if it's not memorable enough to be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, there's a full moon, so that kind of speeds up the process too.
I didn't know that. I learn something new all the time.
Now y'all know.
What else can you tell us tonight?
All right, guys, I mean, we still have some storms out there, some scattered rain, but you know what? This is typical summer-like pattern. A lot of the activity should die down pretty quickly. As soon as we see the sun set, we'll lose the energy for that, but scattered storms likely for your Monday as well.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Our next newscast is at 10 on WXDW, and we'll be back on Wink for Wink News at 11.
We'll see you there. Have a good night.